You deserve this. You definitely deserve my folks here. You deserve this. I'm going to give you all a drum roll for your just being part. How about we do it one more time? One more. All right. We're in. I just had to give you guys some love. For people jumping on, being part of it, the growth here, we've had some growth, especially since we went in the clips. For yesterday's, which I'm recording the day of yesterday's, was earlier, the release. This will be released, what's today, the 3rd, the 4th. And I am not going to be long with my introduction because we're going to get into this. I said I promised Carl Jung, right? Psychoanalyst Carl Jung, which I really appreciate coming from mental health, which I mentioned before on the last video, because he comes at it and he understands consciousness, had the experiences, and doesn't deny it in his practice, which is not going to be the mainstream of this practice. But I appreciate his truths and I just been catching up a lot on Carl Jung and reading about him and deep diving on him and finding out some of his teachings and some of the things he came forth. And it just really amazes me that you never know when you find people in certain spaces, right? So we're going to deep dive a little bit on Carl Jung's takeage of the assemblage point. And without further ado, we're going to get to it because I got some screens to share and we want to get to this. So, and if that noise keeps happening, I would close this window. It stopped. I hope you guys don't pick on it too much because I will close this window to avoid that. And I may do that because you just never know. So we've been talking about the assemblage point. We went into some deeper aspects about it, and we have talked about it and went in on about it, and we went to layers of it. To yesterday's video was about getting the angle to the point that you actually have that point. You actually are the point man to yourself, and establishing that truth of what the assemblage point is, which is actually a balance of self to align and realign and actually tweak to make changes and make adjustments by, like, similar to having a spiritual or physical tool. If you need to tighten up your nuts and bolts, you need wrenches. If you need spiritual wrenches to tighten things up so things aren't loose and you're not leaking your energy, your frequency, and vibration. So these tools, and we talked about even on the last video how really language is part of this. Let me make sure my phone's down. I don't want nobody calling and you guys kind of hearing that or interrupting us, because I'm recording roughly around 7:25 my time. So yeah, let's get to it because I got a couple things to share. I was thinking whether to share this because I do have something else that I'm going to do on my next that really just flicked the light on when I was studying Carl Jung's. It goes with it, something I kind of put together in this, but that's not let's go. So let's read. We're going to go into some of the stuff with Carl Jung, why you assemblage point is more commonly a thematic overlap with Constantina's concept of shifting the assembly point. How Jung ideas relate to the concept of the assembling point. Individuation, shifting the assemblage point. In Jungian psychology, Jungian psychology, the individuation is the process of becoming a whole integrated individual, which involves integrating consciousness and unconscious aspect of the psyche. The journey often involves confronting and integrating aspects of self that are not typically conscious. This really, and this is what really I appreciate about Mr. Jung, is the whole thing about integration is all alchemy. He's talking about alchemizing yourself from your subconscious or your not unconscious to your conscious aspects about yourself. He's really talking about wholeness through alchemy, right? I mean, that's part of the ascension process that we've gone over here in the past, because we got into alchemy, we've got into hermeticism, not quite enough. That could be the next thing. I'm even looking at Rosicrucianism and just the experience. That's kind of why even I just left Gnosticism a little bit. I know when I hit Gnosticism, I'm going to hit a book I'm going to hit is the Book of Thomas again, because we left at 28, how that book is really awesome. But this part of this is back into this is Castaneda's typically conscious. Castaneda's assemblage point, on the other hand, is a point of focus that determines a person's perception of reality. Shifting the assemblage point in Castaneda's view can lead to new ways of perceiving, interacting with the world. Both concepts suggest a process of transformation and a shift in perspective that can lead to a deeper understanding of oneself and one's reality. The self and the assemblage point. Jung's concept of self represents the unified consciousness and unconscious of an individual and its guiding force in the process of individuation. Castaneda's assemblage point can be seen as a similar concept as it determines one's subjective experience of reality and their sense of self. This is all about really going and now learning how to maneuver an assemblage point through your lower self to higher self and alchemize everything that's opposites within you. As we did alchemy, we definitely got in the fact that we seen that the left and right part of our brain, feminine and masculine, logic and intuition, had to be married with each other. The feminine and masculine, that is the great marriage. We know it's interacted on the lower physical parts. That's why we're here. Our parents definitely got together and produced us through the process that is required. And but also in the higher realms, in the higher states of alchemy, gold being, integrated, would be making something and integrating it with something the opposite of it by reduction, right? Through the process that keeps repeating until you reduce it till you get the full integration and its full value and level and of gold. Gold represents the higher consciousness. The metal would represent the humanity of us, the lower aspect of our human physical body. So, integration of opposites, like I was just speaking on. Jung emphasized the importance of integrating opposites from within the psyche, such as thinking, feeling, extravision, and introvision, masculine and feminine aspects. I think this is very heavy, such as thinking and feeling, because this is even something heavily, and I've talked about it some. I use the term sentience. I do. I use the term sentience. Why I use sentience? It's feeling, because sentience is part of the claris, right? And as we awaken more, we start having feelings, not bad feelings or carnal or emotions out of control. We get information of things without being told through our feelings that are sentience. And he's talking about thinking, and that the mind and the spirit or the soul, sentience and thinking, how to integrate this in one. This would be even connected to the mind, right? In Hermeticism, it's called everything is a mind. One of the 8 laws of Hermeticism is the mind. We know that that's hidden within the heart. The mind and heart, and the way they wrote that, I believe they hid it to hide it from certain people, because that's why we live in a world of symbols. Not everybody hiding in a secret society was bad in the past. We think of one that we're seeing by controllers, governments, and you know what I'm talking about. Just like this statement. Not every Freemason temple knows what's going on in a town where you live, probably. This is upper echelon of people who are elite that operate through that, and it's not probably in your town near you. That can be a community unity and a brotherhood there that they support each other at the lowest levels. I've met people, they have no clue. I actually in the past know somebody who was leading a Freemason that I had known, who was a conscious guy, and he told me something on something I said, on some things he broke down, because I'm not one and never have been. And even though we know religious, they lump everything and not understand that 2 things can be true at once, right? But anyways, he told me that some of the things he shared with me and some of the degrees, he goes, you understand it more than the people that come here, because you understand the concept of spirituality. So, yeah. So what am I saying? That I believe the mind in that was put there, covered up, not telling you it's really a mind heart coherence, because when the electromagnetic of that heart area goes with the mind, it illuminates it and it takes it to a higher frequency. Goes, and now we're talking going into just not a human mind, going into the higher realms of mind of Christ, which mind of Buddha, higher conscious mindset, expanded consciousness, unity consciousness. So the integration of opposites, right? Those forces. Then you have the extroversion and introversion. I've even looked at this many times, how when you really start knowing people and you start growing in this and you start kind of achieving some growth, you kind of start seeing you are very powerful. You may at one time been labeled one or the other, but really you have the power to choose which one you want to wear. If I choose to be an introvert today, I could be. If I choose to be an extrovert today, I can be. One will produce a connection with others. One is usually working on yourself. And I've met people who are totally in their physical extroverted people. They have a hard time connecting with self, and because usually you need the introversion to wake up, because that's where you have to go within, which is usually you have to go within. There's no outside source that's going to help you learn that or be that, right? So you can be both. This is, can you take up your life and take up death, right? Can you take it up? Can you have the choice to use this? Another one, masculine and feminine aspects. In the higher realms of spirituality, you have, whether you're physically a male or physically a female, you have both physical and you have both masculine and feminine energy in you, in an energetic. I'm not taking it physical. Physical is the last aspect of it. The very last dropped in matter. But the energy, even in our cars, if our battery's not working, it has two posts, negative and positive. That's feminine and masculine. You can't charge just the positive post because it will not charge your battery. You got to charge both. Wholeness. Castaneda's notion of shifting assembly can be interpreted as a way to integrate these opposite forces too. This is the reality of yin and yang. This is a reality of Hermeticism, that everything, the polar and duality of the opposites in this level, right? You're always going to have the yin and yang. That's why I will say things like this. And there's times where two things can be true, right? Expand one's perception and reality. This is where you start taking the opposites, joining them together to make an expanded oneness and unity within the opposites, feminine and masculine, whatever they can be, whatever they are, even within you, in layers and layers as this goes deeper and deeper, right? In essence, while Jung's theories don't directly address assemblage point, they offer a framework and understanding of process of personal transformation and the potential for expanding one's perspective and understanding of reality lines up exact. Because, and here's why. Let me see. Was there more to add here? Oh, I guess I can go to the other thing. I will share the other one. I wasn't going to share. I thought I could get more. Well, I guess we did go through some of this. Okay. The other one will fit with this. I have something else to share, and we will do that. Why did not, let me go over here. Let me go share back to the screen. Okay. All right. So another thing I really wanted to bring out, but what I wanted to say before I bring out this last part, which is very heavy, we're going to deep dive to Carl Jung, right? Was the fact that Carl Jung, why it crosses over Castaneda, right, into, I just meant Hermeticism, alchemy too, because these are scientific truths that are interconnected, because they all are interconnected. It's called syncretism. Everything's interconnected, even different true spiritual science, because Jung knew this, and we may be talking about it in the future on this one, but I'll say that he did not differentiate his psychology. He said they're the one and the same, spirituality and psychology. This was something that you would look at even into the 1800s, 1700s, and before, and even ancient. That the spiritual, the true science is spiritual. It's not disconnected. That's why a lot of the things like a lot of stuff you see now in universities, It's always never connected. You don't see scientists wearing more than one hat in what they do because they've made them separate from each other, where if they understood syncretism, they'd understand, oh, that other aspect of that other type of training and truth really aligns with what I do. I can actually be both. They don't get that. They're kept in a very what's the word I'm looking for? Where they stay in that one pocket. They don't think outside the box to the other pocket, when that would actually magnify what they do, like a mind heart coordinate, blow it up, take it to a higher state of oneness and unity. It's perfectly not enough. There's a word they use for it, and I can't remember it again. For why they're trained to be, they're actually trained in the schools not to be that to do this. But here you see that Castaneda and Carl Jung's go together, even though he didn't call it the that Castaneda did. And then we see they both, Hermeticism was used and also alchemy was used, because they all are interconnected with each other. They're the whole pie with another slice that's 180 or 270 from them, or 90 degree angles from them. So when you start seeing that, so Carl Jung, being an old schooler, he's not recent, understood this and implemented consciousness in his psych field. He did. You're not going to see that at these units. You're not going to see that because they all now are in one pocket, one thing, trained one way. And what they're trained in, they don't even see that there's something else that goes right with it, because that's how they're trained. There's a word. I hate when I don't remember that word, but it will come to me. And when I record this and edit it, I will put it on the screen like I usually do other things. When I don't say it here, it will be on the screen. But they stay in the one pocket of learning one thing, and which makes sense. It's not collective. It's one, and that allows them not to connect with another field. Because here's something funny. I'm sitting up here watching a so-called top-notch scientist that you guys probably have heard of and know. He's been on the Big Bang Theory many times, and he's put up into this high state, and he talked about consciousness. Well, people say it and do this. And then I'm going, all I have to do is go read the declassified declassified files of the government 3 years ago, 2 to 3 years ago, and they declassified consciousness and took it off, where you can go on the website and see it, where they said out of bodies experience, Kundalini, different realms is all true. And how is it all true? Scientific base. But then I have this guy up there saying it could be in that. But why is the other part of your community from the government saying it's true, but yet you're not? Do you see the hijack? It's right in front of us. But you discerners know that it's actually elementary what they do when you're that, and you can see who they are and what they are, and some are not what they say they are, and we see, and definitely you can see that. But anyways, so let's talk about this. And what I want to share with you, the last thing I wanted to share, was Carl Jung had the statement that he felt, and I'm seeing it more and more. He said, until you make the unconscious conscious, the unconscious mind conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. I think this is freaking powerful, because this goes hand in hand with the word weird. And you go, how does it go hand in hand with the word weird, Daniel or D-Boy? Because we're etymology dropping. I actually have a video in the past months ago about the word of the day. I haven't did a word in a day in months now. And one of the words I used was weird. When you look up the word weird in etymology, guess what it says? One that's able to make U-turns and change its fate. We think it's somebody that is strange. They're strange to the masses who are followers who don't know their powers. But really, the word weird is somebody who can change their fate. And guess what? He says, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. So I said, until you make the conscious conscious is actually what weird means. That's actually what weird people do, because they start putting their light in from their conscious mind and shining it, and putting that golden light, and start making their unconscious mind have light. They start putting it light. They will direct their life, and they will call it fate. They will call it fate And I thought, this is powerful, because the word weird means you're able to change your fate. We've had this word of the day, etymology. Go etymon online or go watch the video. Look it up. I have the video about the word weird, what it actually means. It's like I was sharing with somebody earlier that's kind of connected and watched some stuff, new one. And they said that about etymology, and they're somebody who's went through schooling, actually have MBA. Yeah. Definitely degreed up, went to even one of the Ivy League schools. And the etymology, they were like, it's not taught. And they go, yeah, it's purposely not taught. And they're like, oh, wow. And I said, because we're taking words, because we're a creator in a frequency and vibration technology. Like I said on the last video, this is technology. Words are technology. Language is tools of technology. You're able to curse. You can speak life or death on the tongue. What the tongue is the words you use that come off the tongue, what you speak. And even abracadabra means you create what you speak, the words you use. So when you see that, the word weird, if you're calling people weird and making them like it's a strange thing, when really it's an empowering thing. That's why I would even say for a while on my people on my channel months ago, I haven't said it for months, I said, where are my weirdos at? Where are the people who change fate? So look at this. He says you need to change you need to shine your light until you make your unconscious conscious. It will direct, and you will call it fate. That's a program. Emphasizes the importance of self-awareness and bringing hidden aspects of the psyche into conscious understanding. Hidden aspect. This means exploring your unconscious, which would be definitely connected to your shadow, including your personal unconscious repressed memories, definitely shadow, including your personal unconscious repressed memories and the collective unconscious shared human experience to gain control of your life and break free from breaking the patterns that control you, that put you into fate, that you would call it, which really you would be on the wheel again of samsara, controlled by your unconscious. Here's some more detailed explanations. The unconscious influence Jung believed the unconscious experts a significant influence on our thoughts, feelings, and behaviors, often without our awareness. That's true. If you really start getting your awareness, you'll catch yourself unaware. Did you hear what I said? Some ones who've had this experience, shout it out. I know there's some people who have this experience that your awareness is there and you are starting to recognize when you go out of it, and then you even catch yourself going out of it and you see what happens when you go out of it. I've experienced this. And you see some of the trends of behaviors that you do through that aspect. And if you really if you're unaware, think this is really what's pushing you is your unconscious mind into your decisions, into everything that actually makes you dwindle or die down lower. So you need to bring the light to it. Watch. By consciously exploring the unconscious, you can understand its influence, why you reboot to it. This would kind of be going to reboot to it. This would be, your default settings, that unconscious mind, and make choices that are aligned with your conscious desires rather than being dictated by the hidden forces of the unconscious mind default system. Examples of the influence: unconscious fears, insecurities, or deeply held beliefs can manifest in various ways, such as recurring relationships patterns, negative thoughts patterns, or unhealthy behaviors. There we go. I love this. Tools for exploration, Jung suggested, exploring the unconscious, including dream and analysis. Dreams are considered a window of the unconscious. Active imagination, a process engaging with symbolic images and experience from the unconscious. Introspective, deep self-reflection and meditation. Breaking free from fate. By making the unconscious conscious, we take responsibility for our lives. This is where we're not the bus rider. We start learning how to change the point, and we start being the driver, not the rider. Let me read this. We take responsibility for our lives, break free from the feeling that we're simply following a predetermined path. Fate, individuation. Jung's concept of individuation involves integrating conscious, unconscious aspects of self, leading to a more complete, authentic sense of self. In essence, Jung's quote encouraged a journey of self-discovery, empowerment, where we actively engage with the hidden parts of ourselves to create a more conscious, fulfilling life. Blowing, that's good stuff right here. Let me stop the share. Why? Powerful. I'm telling you, that's super duper powerful. So when I see that, and another thing is, Jung has some other writings. We've gotten to Gnosticism. He has a writing up on his take on the demiurge Sophia and the aspects of Gnosticism. So this isn't just, oh, who's he doing that? No. Carl Jung in this space, which I'm telling you, I worked in this space, they're not like that. Everything is one-way thinking from the intellectual viewpoint from the university you're trained in, which we know these universities are program centers. We know that. Their main foundation is to program you to be a follower, not to be a free thinker, and to give you, program knowledge. I mean, why we see so much liberalism around us? God, it's very, why it's like this? The light is getting dark in here. Be with me in a second. I'm going to turn on another light. Hold on. Be with me. All right, you guys. Hopefully that's a little bit better. Maybe I can go here and make this a little bit better here too. All right. Had to turn on a different light as it's probably going on 8 o'clock or near, and it's getting darker here. So yeah, I had to put that on. So I don't really have to keep you longer. We got everything done. But Carl Jung's teaching of the unconscious and the individuation overlaps with the assemblage point by Carlos Castaneda. And when you see this, you realize the secretism of all things aligns with each other. Just like the assemblage point aligns. You have your own assemblage point within your structure to align yourself. And this is where you even flip the degrees to get another reality. Go into dreams, flipping your reality, go into different spaces, getting comfortable with them, knowing your travels, because we need to know our travels. We need to know our spiritual GPS, what we have had, because we've did it before, right? This is very good. I want to thank you. Please, we're on Spotify, we're on TikTok, and of course YouTube, and also D-Boy, West Coast Uncensored. This will all be in the screen when I edit it. And please give and help us as we grow this channel and as we add more to it. And we like to add more to it to even make it better. I want to have some guests on. I know that I've talked to one guest from New York, and we haven't set a date, but we committed in June when they were able to have some more time. And somebody else I was thinking about also. Still kind of thinking I want to get, because I want the spirit to tell me things where to go and how to go, because that's what I believe we're here for, is to learn to trust our initiation and our leading of our soul, higher self, to go and make the moves that we need to make to go to the next level. But this was part 4 on the assemblage point with Carl Jung, and definitely making that unconscious conscious. Or guess what? It will lead you back into the fate, and that's come back, Jack, do it again. That means you're not budging your consciousness. And the excuse we give is fate. We know that the weird ones change their fate and make U-turns. Again, go look at that. We'll talk again very soon. Very soon. And I think my very soon is going to be, I got something for you that's going to go with this. It will lead to something else, because I said we're going to get in the Akashic Records, but we're going to do something first that will lead us into that really got enlightened by watching Carl Jung, that just hit me. Okay, you guys have a great day.